Okay, we are live, and I'll wait for a couple of minutes before we start. And the topic of discussion would be around sustainability in the protocols. Okay, so I'll wait for a couple of minutes, putting myself on mute. If you have any questions, you can put your questions in the comment box, and we'll take it from there. Okay, I think I have to set it up this way. Will be better. Okay, so a lot is happening around sustainability. However, perhaps we need to see the landscape of the tech which already has been developed, because we save the time for the MVPs, and we can obviously have the conversation with the expert and get them on board and get it done in a fast, speedy manner. Right now, the new world order is already established, and the whole networking, the stakeholders in the world, the operators of the world, they are still dabbling in terms of how to get things done in this new world order. So we will be talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, and we have been very vocal about the sustainability over the protocols. And here, the protocols itself is not the intellectual property rights, because perhaps what is important here is to realize that IPR is just a defensive mechanism. And once you understand that, and if you look into, obviously, there are few sectors which would be constant, irrespective whatever happens. One such hashtag is pharmasafe. For the longest time, we have been talking about it. We were scheduled to have upgradation for the same before the lockdown, but that couldn't happen. We had it online. So perhaps what is important here is to understand the evergreen process, because there's a lot of trade secret around loads of technologies. However, today I wish to discuss about the system method for capturing, preserving, and presenting human experiences and personality through a digital interface. There's a lot of discussion around synthetic data. Synthetic data per se is something which is not real, and to develop strong protocols, we need to have real data sets. We cannot be going with the word scenarios, we cannot be going with the word embodiments. We need to tackle this whole problem statement by seeing how the I would rather say the candidates here, the candidates can be living or non-living also, because any object, anything in a particular um, I would rather say for example, take a lecture hall or you take a laboratory for that matter. There are a few things which are placed in that room which remains constant, irrespective of whatever the setting is. Um, Folks who believe in minimalism, or minimalism here stands for something else, but I'll make it simple for the folks to understand here is, say for example, somebody has a home. So there are a lot of things in terms of the statue, or maybe paintings, pictures, or some things which are just kept um, in a certain orientation at a certain place, like mixie grinder, or perhaps some of the things they are constant. However, there are a lot of things which are dabbled around on a daily basis. So this dabbling around and the synthesis of synthetic data needs to be discussed, because a lot of operators are trying to push this momentum forward in terms of using synthetic data to develop the protocols, which is not solving any problem but creating more problems. And however, we have to be sustainable at the same stance. So this particular application was filed in US. So this this framework, or the architectural framework, talks about um, how the snapshots or the photos which is clicked maybe on the device, or you have like, I still have cameras with me which doesn't have any kind of Wi-Fi. So that kind of also portability is there right now. So the data, which in terms maybe audio, maybe video, maybe PNG files, or any of the files, email. Give me a minute, I need to take water. Okay, so the data related to the photographs, emails, which can be one or more, or the health data parameters. Then we have social media post and the others. The whole data system is fragmented. So it's not, the super app model is broken. For the longest time, we know this. So there's hard to make an experience in terms of maybe companies like Facebook, Meta, although they have different platforms catering to different needs, but still till date there's a lot of fragmentation. This particular application talks about the problem statement which they are trying to solve: memory fades and family storing. Okay, so basically the data set, which includes a lot of players, objects in these data sets, there's no automation right now which can turn the lifetime of the raw data into a living interactive digital self. that uh, it's kind of an augmented reality in this case, because if you see the figures, you'll be able to appreciate it. Probably after this video, I'll draft an article around it and publish it. So so the core emphasis of this particular framework is to develop a system that is collecting every trance of a person's life, compressing it into, we talked about historical data sets. So basically, it's creating a historical data set with different parameters and then training a synthetic neural personality that talks, reacts, and remembers the way the original person did. Um, a lot of innovations are being done whereby people who are um, not in the living format, that data is being taken and it is being fed to these systems. So it's like creating a virtual world for that particular person. So, how this is exactly done in terms of the understanding part is any digital footprint the individual grants access to. So, many a times, you have cookies, and there are instances whereby you have to accept the cookies. So, if you're granting access, so remember one thing, as a candidate who is utilizing this World Wide Web, needs to understand the difference between the AI, the RI, and the actual stuff which is happening around them. Because AI is being created with a lot of hallucinated data. So that has to be taken care of. And in this particular uh, framework, it talks about the parameter of actions. Say, for example, you give them a puzzle, how the candidate is looking into it, how the candidate is interacting with the questions, and the experience the candidate is feeling. Um, Now, this data itself, they have said that the data is like, when we talk about geolocation, is always latitude and longitude. However, this particular person has set the data to be longitudinal. We have talked about it that when you are drafting the framework, it's not that the word needs to have a literal meaning. It can mean anything and everything to anyone, whosoever is doing the skeleton part. So, in this particular case, there's a mountain of data, or perhaps that's how the definition here is. So, there is data variability, neural network. Um, so, moments when the incoming data changes a lot. Say, for example, there is a painting kind of work happening, or there's some kind of construction happening. So you will see a lot of incoming data in terms of collection of data sets, the the different scenarios which been orchestrated in the offline world and in the offline world, and which is being recorded. Say, for example, in an IoT kind of a system, which is Internet of Things, folks who have this surveillance kind of stuff installed within offices, home, vice versa. So that data set is like, is being recorded. But at the back end of the admin, it is legible, or it is, the person sitting at the, I would also say the person is kind of a watchdog, and that person is able to see that. So these variability points are used as hooks. So the word defined here is hook to auto generate questions. We already talked about it. And right now, again, all these models which are there for the users, or I won't say the user, I have replaced the word users with candidates, because then you can, there are very less number of folks who are out of the matrix. So if you're out of the matrix, I would rather say use the word candidate rather than the user. Uh, so in this particular case, auto-generate questions or story prompts that a human, which is a subject, can answer, filling the gap where AI is uncertain. So a lot of training models are being developed right now, and whatever work had been done over the years from the 1990s, that data set is absolute zero. Why it is absolute zero? Because the input data is wrong. I mean, uh, the name itself is wrong, the spell check is wrong, so the basic understanding of the English language is wrong. So when the input data is wrong, even whatever you are synthesizing in terms of the synthetic data, that data is also is going to be wrong. So that is one reason. one of the hypotheses. So you have to deploy different mathematical equations. I'm not getting into it, but take output data as input data and see it for yourself how it works for you. Um, so what is the synthetic personality model? In this particular case, it is a neural network based representation which encodes personality structures, taking five big trait values, biases, political and stuff, sentiments, what the person loves or hate. What I personally believe is when you are developing the data set, keep the sentimental analysis separate. Don't take it into the protocol, because then the input data itself would be biased. So you have to understand the difference between a biased data and a non-biased data. So decide which new data should override or merely update earlier belief systems. So now, what is going to happen? Um, once these models are developed in silos, so a lot of work is being done in silos right now globally, and multiple stakeholders are developing those protocols. Now once these protocols are connected, that itself is going to um, be the core of the new world order. So this particular output data is being set as performance optimization. So it is performance optimization as an output data. So in this particular case, the data synthesis is basically summarizing decades of noisy raw data into compact narrative kernels. Again, the word kernel, okay, the word kernels, the word bar is being utilized a lot for the tagging part. Then there is disposition, which is automatically discarding redundant or low value data, thereby keeping storage and computing cost under control as the corpus grows. So the point here is for the sustainability, which we were talking about, you cannot be storing anything and everything. There's something called as garbage of data. That garbage of data, once fortified, whatever is left should be trashed out, and it should be deleted. Deleted in the sense it has to be erased per se. Um, so this particular stuff, which I touch base right now, is trying to sketch a future where every person could have a durable, evolving digital twin. Okay, the concept of digital twin, I think most of the folks are unaware. Not only preserves memory, but also let future generation converse with an authentic individual's mind. Okay, in many ways, although these small framework is trying to develop or give certain kind of protocols to develop maybe a kind of a supercomputer which is able to answer, or perhaps one of the hypotheses globally is able to answer anything and everything. Now the daunting question right now in the year 2025 here is, um, so the training model I have, which is proprietary, according to that, uh, a part of the protocol is already in 2050, and till now on the timeline we are on 2025. Perhaps the disparity of uh, different candidates being online, because the number of hours you are logged on to the internet itself is something to be clocked on. Or there are times where there's a lot of surveillance in terms of when you're working in the offices. Now there's a lot of question in terms of the number of working hours you need to put in uh, to get the work done in terms of the output. um, the point of contention here would be to have different determination steps for different individuals irrespective of their age. um, However, what I feel, if I have to pick top three parameters, that would be historical data set, environmental data set, and perhaps, given a choice which might change depending on the data set, would be the genetics. So if you look into genetics, then we are keeping farmers safe, which is very important, because healthcare is paramount in any of the world orders. Environmental factors can change. So yes, environmental factors is itself a very big data, or a data set for that matter. And historical data set, again, it can have zillion subparameters. And I have been working on a couple of my own stuff and associated with other enterprises in different capacities to get things done in a fast, speedy manner. So you can send me a DM regarding this, and I'll look into it. However, we need to focus on the sustainability of the protocol, because we cannot be using this kind of resource right now and the GPUs which are not required, because it's not the computing power. It is basically how resourceful and upskilling is the need of the hour. In anything and everything, what I feel, irrespective of the fact we are discussing digital twin, I personally believe in my own capacity that upskilling is the only way out to live a purposeful life in 2025 and beyond, in terms of utilizing the portal of internet for getting things done in a fast, speedy manner. Thank you for watching out the video. If you have any questions, happy to answer. Otherwise, you know where to connect. Thank you.